Okay. So from the start, yeah?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm just gonna do a little clap so you know where to. Yeah. Hello.
I heard
Cool.
nothing.
There
No,
was
it's,
no
it's not
audio
about the
there.
hearing, it's about the seeing. He's gotta see it. He's gotta see it. He's gotta look through and see it. That's
That's not the
the
point of a clap.
no,
Yeah.
it's for him, it's to help him edit. It's to help
Yeah,
him
but
edit.
the
No,
sound is what
it
gives
has
you
to be the
the
sound
marker.
spike. But
Does it
okay,
have to be
Yeah.
sound? Does that help?
The
no,
sound
that's
spike is what makes
yeah.
it easy to
Okay,
edit.
she'll
Yeah,
clap
yeah.
then. Well,
But,
Yeah, I didn't hear
right.
anything.
but there was no audio there. No, it's okay,
Okay,
it's okay.
wait, wait,
I'll edit it. Don't worry. You guys go.
I scream in the mic.
is that good?
Yeah,
Okay, good point stuff.
it's mic, right?
Yeah.
Right. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon if you're in the UK. Welcome to episode 20.
One.
21, episode 21 of the Boys University podcast. We got one exclusion today. Sahil once again, unfortunately, can't make it. But we have someone in his place. This lovely lady over here, Patricia. Say hi.
Hi.
All right. She's here limited time only from Australia, so got her in.
Well, who
Yeah,
is she? You know, she's not just a random person.
yeah, she's not a random person. This is my lovely girlfriend. Oh,
Oh.
Oh,
all right. Yeah. So, firstly, before we start, I want to shout out our brilliant subscribers on YouTube, Merlin's Beard and Shahan Khan.
also to be clear,
Yep.
I'm actually not sure that they've subscribed because I can't see I can only see Harun had subscribed.
Oh,
Apparently, I guess they didn't make their profiles public for like that sort of thing.
okay, that's fine. That's
But
fine.
I can
they
only
commented,
deduce.
which I'd
They
argue
commented.
is just as useful.
They commented
Exactly.
high praise. That was high praise for the podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll take care of you guys once we're in big time, you know? Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Shahan Khan, Merlin's Beard, got you. All right. Yeah, so today we've got a bit of a topic coming in. We're going to be talking a bit about disappointment, and maybe I'll just throw this over to Arman. So tell us maybe how you face disappointment in your life, how you deal with it.
Yeah, so maybe I'll give a bit more context first. So I was the one who introduced this topic in the group, right? So the sort of reason I was thinking about it was because I had my midterm exams maybe a month and a half ago, got the results. I was pretty unhappy with it. And I was obviously feeling upset. I was feeling disappointed, like I didn't perform as expected. And then I started thinking about basically what I started thinking was um I had worked pretty hard for that exam and I'd studied pretty well for the exam. But when the question came out, it just was one of those questions that threw me off in a weird way. It was just a very strangely worded question. It was one of those questions where they had picked a very niche topic to test us, like on a very specific statute. And it wasn't through any lack of my own studying or my own preparation that I wasn't able to answer the question, but it was just a combination of like, I don't test well, I choke up during the exam sometimes. And the way the question was asked kind of threw me off a little bit. So then my mindset was really just, okay, I didn't perform well, but I actually did do the work that I wanted to do, and I did do all the preparation. So that kind of made me think, all right, well, I'm not really that upset about my grades per se, because I already did the work. And to me, that was like sort of an identifiable shift in mindset that I have now as compared to previously. If like I was in JC or even maybe to a certain extent last year, if I performed badly in my exam, I would just kind of think, okay, like that's, I screwed up, I fucked up. That's kind of the be all end all of it. But I didn't really take into account the fact that like, the real important thing for me is just the preparation and like just putting in my best effort beforehand. And the grade is just incidental to that. So I was just wondering, like, for you guys, how is it that you guys approach the concept of being disappointed in yourself, being disappointed in others? Is that a similar mindset that you guys share now, or that you've, maybe you just approach it differently? Yeah, so that's my anecdote to begin with. But yeah, why don't we throw to you, and you can talk a little bit about it if you want to.
sure.
And I say Bhatia because we all know he's familiar with disappointment. This guy is chock full of disappointment. I mean, he is just so incompetent.
I'd like to say I've
Constantly.
I've never been disappointed in you.
That I
Thank you.
expect.
Actually,
Oh, in you?
I
I thought you said
I
I'd never been disappointed.
Maybe not
I've been
never.
disappointed about it.
yeah,
I've been disappointed about it.
I'd say there's a few instances you guys have been disappointed in me, lah.
Maybe,
Yeah,
but
you
not.
didn't inform me
Yeah,
KFC for lunch. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
remember that? Remember
KFC
that?
for lunch.
KFC for lunch was
Get together in the evening.
Yeah,
yeah.
Couple of instances.
Just little slip ups, One scheme of things.
Yeah. Well, grand scheme of things, small things though. But yeah, coming back to your question, Arman. For me, dealing with disappointment, like normally it's the same I deal with like any kind of negative emotions generally. So I've got a pattern which is like first like I kind of wallow in things for a while. So it's just how I've been for ages and like so you also alluded to the fact that like the way you deal with disappointment, the way you like see disappointments changed a bit. But the one constant thing for me has always been like I like initially, whether it's like a big disappointment, so maybe a month, if it's a small disappointment, maybe a couple of days, I'll like
Oh,
kind
you
of
get
wallow
disappointed
in
for a
it.
month.
Oh bro, I've been disappointed for months. Like it's just about
Months of
what's happening.
disappointment.
Isn't like
That's a long time for disappointment. I feel like,
like I don't know, like okay, within the group it'd be known lah. I'm quite a pessimist. So like things like negative emotions generally tend to affect me quite a lot. But so whatever the disappointment might be, like initially I'll wallow in it, I'll kind of deteriorate, I'll degenerate. So I've got like a couple like bad behavioral patterns that I follow. You guys know what they are. But I'll, for the interest of, in case my parents one day watch the podcast, I will not be saying what I do. But
Honestly, I think
I
what?
think you should say what you do because you made it sound a lot worse than it actually
yeah,
is.
it isn't
Oh yeah,
actually
okay, fair.
It
Actually,
sounds
yeah,
like you're on heroin, mate.
nah. To be fair, close lah, close, but not quite. No lah. It's just like okay. For the interest of yeah, I made it sound a lot worse than it is. It's just like I kind of like fall out of like productivity, so I won't do anything like productive. So whether that's uni or like previously, like whether it's been like in the army in school, so I'll like fall behind on work, and then I just tend to like drink a lot, like to an unhealthy amount. So there's that. But then the thing is like more recently, what has happened is it's become like more of a productive endpoint of it. So I'll have the initial phase of like degeneration. Then after a point, like I don't know if like something changes in the mindset, or I just kind of like figure that okay, I've had enough of like wallowing in it. I don't know if it's the process of getting over things as well. But then like I start to become more productive. Then I'll like throw myself into things, whether it's like for me, working out becomes like a big part of it to like get out of disappointment because like that's the one way in which I can be productive and like not like as in it's the one thing I can do that can consistently keep me productive. Because sometimes, like with work, with studies, with those kind of things, like it can be difficult to always be productive because sometimes your mind's just not in it. Working out, I feel like is one thing that you just show up, you do what you want to do. Sometimes you push the weight you want to push, sometimes you don't. But still like you've done something with your day and like you've done something with yourself for those couple of hours. So that's how I kind of like deal with it. Like I'll have a spurt of productivity at the end, and that's what kind of always gets me out of it.
How about you, Barry? Let me throw it to you for your introductory thoughts on it.
Honestly, for me, okay, I don't know if this is digressing a bit, but for me, I'm the kind of person who, like, I don't really like to take too much risk, lah. So, in terms of having a lot of disappointment, if I know that I'm probably not going to get something, I'm probably not going to get it, and I'm already like sort of brace myself for it. So, I can sort of tune it out, lah. Like, in Spider-Man, Zendaya is like, oh, something about expecting disappointment. I can't remember the line actually on the cuff. But
Such
yeah,
random.
I know you know it. Batya definitely knows it.
Bro,
Oh,
don't
for
throw it to
sure.
me up eating.
Oh,
No, it's the MIT one, right? I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like you can't be disappointed if you're expecting disappointment or something like that,
Yeah.
something along those lines, which was quite a cool line when I was watching the movie. I was like, that's actually quite facts, and I feel like it resonates with me quite a lot, even though it's a movie and it's nonsense in that movie. But yeah, and also another thing is, for me, I'm not because Bhatia said he's like a pessimist, right? For me, I'm a pessimist if I have like the highs for me. Like if I get into medicine, I'm a pessimist. I'm like, oh no, now I have to like 5 years come study medicine, blah blah. And if I have disappointment, I'll look on the bright side. I'll be an optimist. Like I'll try and take the positives out of it, so I wouldn't be too disappointed in that sense as well. So like let's say like in the future when I hopefully want to apply for a subspecialty and I don't get, And then I can take the positives out of it and be like, oh, I mean, my fallback option is like to just be a private practitioner, which is quite lucrative in that sense. So I wouldn't be too disappointed as well. So yeah, I'm not all the way a pessimist like Bhatia. I'm like somewhere in the middle, like just trying to swing about the middle like a pendulum, I guess. I don't know how I'll put it. Yeah, that's my take on it. And if I do ever get disappointed, same as Bhatia, I'll just go and gym. I'll just go and play football. I'll just distract myself. I won't talk about it, honestly. I'll just try and distract myself. Move on
But
with
do
my
you
life.
do you ever like kind of like dig into the feeling and just kind of like dissect it a little bit, or do you just like throw it to the side and then just try and carry on with your life?
As in, when I do the dissecting, that's when I'll come up with like try and look at the positives when I have the disappointment, which is what I mentioned
Okay.
earlier. Actually that's the main part of how I deal with disappointment. Just try and be optimistic, take the positives out of it, and distract myself if the disappointment is like really, really making me feel down at that point in time. Yeah.
Where you are?
I think, yeah, I think Baraff, it makes a lot of sense. Like, it's quite a good mechanism actually, because you're sort of like balanced, in the sense that sort of ground yourself when good things happen. Maybe not too much, but yeah, and kind of lift yourself when things are not going too well. I think that's pretty good. As for myself, I don't know. I think like what Bhatia said about like having like short-term disappointments and long-term disappointments, I think I resonate with that quite a bit. So I think I've also had a bit of periods where I've been disappointed for a long period of time, and then certain times it would spike and stuff like that. So like, I mean, as usual, Singaporean children, most of our disappointment comes from like grades and not doing well enough for this or for that. Parents are a bit disappointed, this and that. And then for me, so for most of my life, that was it for me. And then the way that changed when I got a bit older was that, you know, back then, a lot of what I did, like what Bhairav said about throwing himself in the gym and football, like a lot of what I did was to deal with disappointment was just, trying to erase it out of my head, do stuff that I enjoy, like playing football. So where that like long-term disappointment came from was obviously like around when I was about 19, 20, I had a lot of injuries. And it was the kind of injuries that are not like immediately solvable. It's very long-term chronic injuries, and then they just keep reappearing and sort of I'd come to a point where I couldn't really play competitive football anymore, which was the one thing I loved to do and the one thing I could have counted on for everything. So that was a huge point of disappointment for me. And honestly, like as much as I've had disappointment in football from like losing and stuff, I've never felt that kind of disappointment from football because it was always the one thing that sort of made me feel better when I actually was disappointed. So in that sense, I became quite lost in the sense that I didn't really know where to go to now that I was having that, long-term disappointment. And then obviously medical school, so I'm not really doing well in my exams, or at least as well as people would like to be doing. So I get those spikes of disappointment whenever an exam comes around as well. So I would say like first couple of years when the injuries were at a high and I was trying to figure that out was very, very difficult for me. And I didn't really know how to deal with my disappointment that way. Obviously I had outlets like talking about it and stuff, but um, I think what I learned the most, maybe the past couple of years about dealing with disappointment would be a bit similar to what Bhairav said, sort of just tailoring my expectations a lot, because I think that's really important. I think here in Singapore, we always tend to compare ourselves to other people. In my Sri Lankan household, we do a lot of comparing this kid and that kid all the time. So there's always like, someone else to beat or someone else to do better than. But I think one of the big things was just realizing that there's no one else to beat but myself. And it's okay if I lose to myself sometimes too. But as long as that goal stuck more to myself and self-improvement and making sure like the day after I was better than what I was the day before, then it helped me to sort of break down my problems and approach things a bit more like holistically, I guess. So I wasn't really dwelling on things as much. Obviously, there's still an element of like having difficulty processing a lot of things, but I think generally that shift was what was really important for me in dealing with disappointment.
Why don't we throw it to Bat?
Yep.
But do you wanna take the mic for a little bit?
Sure. I think for me, I'm quite a simple person. I don't know. I feel like I'm quite optimistic most of the time. I don't really dwell on like disappointment too much. I just like for example, if I get a bad grade, then I'll be like, oh, and then I'll think about it. I'll reflect on it, but after that, I won't get too affected by it, and then I'll just move on to the next obstacle that I have to face. But after the disappointment, like I said, I reflect on it. So I journal a lot. So I just like write down my feelings and everything, and just pour my heart out into my diary, and then yeah, that's about it honestly. And then I think I'll also tailor my expectations like what Bara said. So I manage my expectations. Like if I knew that I didn't perform as well as I could have like on an exam, so when I receive the grade, I don't get too disappointed by it. Yeah, yeah, I'm quite simple. And then if I don't get a grade that I want, or like I'm disappointed by something, I'm always like, I guess things happen for a reason. Like I know it sounds stupid, but I don't know. I'm just like that. And then I I just move on with life. Yeah.
That's an interesting way to think about it because I've never been one to think about like the whole things happen for a reason side of things. Do you guys
Yeah.
like the boys? Do you guys have that sort of mentality as well?
I actually had like a few debatey-ish discussions with her about that whole like concept.
Yeah, throw it out now.
A bit. No, as in, because I think a bit of it, or a lot of it actually, maybe for some people it's rooted in like karma and stuff. In other people it's rooted in religion, where it's like sort of your story or whatever is already laid out for you. You can't really do anything about it. So if something happens, it happens for something. There has to be a reason for it to happen. But then for me personally, I'm of the view that things just happen, like for no good reason sometimes, like at random. I mean, like, I don't know, like, if y'all don't mind me giving a bit of an anecdote, like the reason I was thinking about it today was, like I'm doing psychiatry now in hospital. So I'm seeing a lot of patients who have like a lot of mental illnesses. And there's one patient that I saw who, obviously I won't give too many details, but we see very normal functioning person, never had any issues before. Family says like very bubbly, very kind person. She's studying like social work or something like that. Like very like altruistic kind of person. And then out of nowhere, maybe like a week ago or something, she starts acting a bit differently, and then suddenly she has like some manic attack where she's like laughing a lot, like acting very weird, scribbling, disrupting. And then she gets brought to the emergency department. They run a few tests, and then they diagnose this person with bipolar disorder. And it's just like that, like literally like someone who's got like such a promising career, or such like a very clear, I don't know, like such a normal person. Like for us, when we go in there and we talk to these people, like what took me aback was a lot of these people have chronic conditions where they've like had maybe like intellectual disabilities from young, or like long-term bipolarism, that kind of thing. It's the first time I've seen, or like, I mean, I've not been there for a long time, but it's the first time I've even heard about like such an acute, like such a like you could like literally a week ago, if I saw this person, it'd be completely normal, and potentially this person would not be able to continue the career path, and like the family doesn't know what's going on, and they're like, you know like it's just like when you look at something like that, and then I kind of think, where's the reason for that? I mean, it's possible to pull something out and say, oh, it's a learning point for this person, it's a learning point for that person, but sometimes just things happen in random, and
Yeah,
and
it's a very shit happens moment, man.
yeah, it's a shit happens moment, and it's just
Yeah.
so unfortunate.
But is there a trigger for bipolar? Like, is it generally lifelong, or has it sometimes
honestly,
for a
I
lot of
don't
people
know.
does it just happen
From
at a
There's like a
moment?
couple of risk factors, but like I don't think it's a trigger, right? Is it? I think if it's
I don't
really
know,
acute, it's really just something.
yeah,
Maybe
from
something
this
else. I don't know.
case, the doctor was saying that like it's just like sometimes if they identify a stressor, it's possible that like over time that stressor could build enough for it to be an acute presentation, apparently. Yeah. I mean, the thing about psych is it's just so difficult to understand. Like even the doctors themselves don't really fully grasp the concepts. All the other specialties, it's like everything's pretty much cause and effect. But psych is like one of the ones that's very hard to understand. Yeah, but that's just a digression.
With the
Barry, what about
whole,
you?
with the whole like, because Bat was talking about how everything happens for a reason. I think that used to be something I told myself when I feel like things were out of my control. Like if it's something I know I screwed up, I know I messed up, then I think me saying that to myself is kind of just, I guess, being in denial of my incompetence, or maybe not incompetence, but just that screw up. So I think if it's really something out of my hands and then that happens, I used to tell it to myself, but now it's like I think I try to take more control. I guess that's what I've been trying to do over time, instead of trying to say everything happens for a reason. Because I think some of it, like Haru mentioned, is also like to do with your upbringing. Like if your family really believes in superstitions, karma, things like that, then if they tell you these kind of things to you as you grow up, then it will be instilled in you. I'm not sure about Bhatia, because our parents are quite Indian, I would say, and it's quite a common thing they tell their children, right? So like, I don't know. But for me, I don't really buy it anymore. Yeah.
So let me ask you all this question then. When you all talk about like being disappointed, being upset, all these negative emotions, right? Do you think it's something that stems from like just an internal expectation that you have for yourselves? Or is it something that like you have other people who expect things from you? You feel like you need to live up to someone's standards. And that's why you feel disappointed when you don't perform as well as you expected to, or when something doesn't go your way? Or is it generally just, I expected to do this much, or I expected to perform this way because I put in this much work? And simple as that, I'm upset for that reason. But what do you think?
I think both actually. So for me, the way I see it, I've had both experiences, and I still feel both like play a big part in like the disappointments I face. So some things, the only people who like really like my disappointment ties in very strongly or closely with theirs is my parents for now. So instances when I know that I don't care too much about something. So let's say for me, I've never cared too much about like grades or like school. So for me, if I do badly in a test, if I did badly for A levels, whatever it might be, I'm sure I was a bit disappointed in myself, but most of the disappointment stems from the fact that they expect better, and that I couldn't like kind of like live up to their expectations or do what they wanted me to do with that. So I have that experience, and then obviously like more personal things that I want to do well in, or that I want to do for myself. When I failed those, disappointed myself, and I think I have both. And I think the first one's a lot more difficult to deal with, because external disappointment, like you don't want to let someone down. So I think most of us would be like that, in that sense, that I think letting someone down would be a lot worse than like dealing with disappointment within yourself.
Yeah, what about you?
I think for me mainly is dealing with disappointing my family. Yeah, I think my family, not that they put a lot of pressure on me, but I do feel like a lot of pressure from my parents just to be the best version of myself. And when I don't like hit the goal that I want to hit, or like the imaginary goal that I think they want me to hit, then I get disappointed. But I do set goals for myself as well, and yeah, when I don't hit them, I get disappointed.
Okay.
Wait,
About go ahead.
okay. For like Bat, I just want to ask, because you said that when you deal with disappointment, like initially you were saying that you kind of reflect on it and that's how you deal with it, and you come out of it like in an optimistic sense. But when you deal with disappointment that you face, like if you like feel like you've disappointed your family or like that side of it, like you're just saying, do you deal with it differently, or how do you deal with it then?
No, I do it the same. Yeah. Yeah, like for every single obstacle that I face, I just journal it down, and then I reflect on it, and then I try to see how I can improve. Like I have like on my iPad, I have like a self-care tab like on Good Notes, where it's just pages of like me writing stuff down. And then I have like bullet points where I like write okay, I need to do this. And then I just like pour out my feelings and everything. And I kind of like scold. I don't know if it's like good, but I like scold myself. I'll be like, why are you like this? Why are you like that? And then that's just how I reflect on like the mistakes I've done in the past and how I can better myself and how I can reach the goal that I've set for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to run this test. So raise your hand if you think majority of the feeling of disappointedness comes from external expectations or internal expectations. So for external expectations, raise your hand.
Wait. Can I clarify first?
Yeah, clarify.
As in for us personally or like generally?
For y'all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For y'all personally. Okay.
So hand up if external.
Hand up if external.
Okay.
If majority of it is external. Okay. Hands up now.
Okay, for audio listeners.
No, as in just put your actual hand up.
Put your hands up.
Don't freaking raise the hand in Zoom, dude. What the fuck?
For
I raised
audio
my hand and
listeners,
I
Baraff
raised
is
my
a-
hand and I lowered it to show that it's not up because I thought you all were gonna raise up on the thing.
Oh, okay. Wait, so everyone is mostly internal?
I feel that that's quite a general consensus. Like even if you go outside of like this group, no?
Yeah. Oh, I kind of expected. I don't know. For some reason, I expected like Baraff and Harun to be more external than internal.
What? Because you think they disappoint people often?
No, fuck you, dude.
Just based
No,
on
I just
based
thought,
on how
like, I just
disappointed
thought-
we are in you guys all the
No,
time.
because like, okay, I don't know about that,
That's
but I know like I feel like me and Bhatia, our parents are more chill about like grades and like
Fair.
like that sort of thing. I just kind of assumed that Baraff and Harun, your parents are more like hard up about that sort of thing.
I think maybe if you asked me that question about 5-6 years ago, and honestly, if you asked anyone of us this question, maybe like 5, 6, 7 years ago, that question, I mean, the answer might be different. Because I think with the age that we've come to, we have to have a lot of independence, I think. And honestly, to get to where we have gotten to, I don't think external pressure is enough. Like, I think we've all done pretty well for ourselves, thankfully. Even if some of you may not think you have, I think everyone has done pretty well for themselves. And I think like that can't really be achieved off of external pressure alone. I think PSLE you can do brilliantly well if it's just external pressure. But like for like once you're past that, I think having like self or internal motivation is super, super important. And I think especially now in uni where honestly my parents have absolutely no like say or like control over what I do or how I approach things. I mean it's out of their sphere in a sense, right? So I need to be self-motivated and I need to do it for myself more than anyone else. Obviously there is external motivation, there's still like standards that they expect, and I still don't want to come back and say, look, I failed this test, I didn't do so well for this. But most of it honestly comes from me at this point in my life. But I feel like if you asked me that quite a while ago, I probably would have said more external.
Very same for you?
Yeah, I think we're just at that point in our life or that age where most of our disappointment is just internal. Like everything I was talking about just now with regards to how you deal with disappointment, I don't think even like 1% was like talking about external expectations. It was all purely internal. Like 5-6 years ago, like Harun said, I think maybe yeah, like you said, maybe, but I think my answer may still have been no.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like I feel my parents' expectations for me are quite realistic, especially after like a certain point in time, especially after primary school, maybe. It's relatively realistic. And I mean, it's quite hard to start sharing with them everything like grades wise, start sharing everything with like 8, 9 subjects in secondary school. So like it's a bit difficult for them to keep up as well. So as long as they know you're doing fine, which most of us were at that point, and I think it doesn't really play a factor. Sorry, all of us were okay. How about that? So don't laugh, but yeah.
No, Bhatia was doing better than me, dude.
At what point?
Your GPA was higher. Your GPA was higher than mine, dude. I mean, we were both doing badly, but like, Sec 3, Sec 4, right?
I don't think so.
Really? Yeah.
Sec 3, Sec 4 was the start of the decline.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, let me broaden the scope of the discussion then. So, and I want to get Bat's take on this because for the first time ever, we have a girl on the podcast, which we didn't address earlier.
Hey.
We didn't address earlier, but that's big from us, I think.
We're going up in the world.
Yeah.
We actually still
So-
call this Boys University podcast.
Boys University, bro.
I just realized.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Now we can go Boys University podcast feed girl.
Oh,
Go.
that's a good idea. That's such a good
That's
idea.
so sick, bro.
Okay.
Feet go. Part
I've
one.
got the
part two.
title. Yeah, I've got the title.
Every week.
Okay. Every week different girl.
No, but then we
I
can't
think we have
get
like
another,
maybe two
then we
girls.
can't get another girl next time.
We have
Yeah,
about
it's quite tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have two girls to choose from, basically. Okay. Anyways, no. So I want to broaden the discussion a little bit. So when y'all are, and let's not talk only about disappointment, but when you're feeling like generally like negative emotions, is that something that y'all bring up to other people? So like some people have the sort of like methodology of talking out their problems to their friends, to their family, to their significant other, whatever it is. Are you guys and Bet? Okay, no. So are you guys? Do you guys fall in that bucket? And Bet, if you don't fall into that bucket, do you think that girls generally lean towards like talking their feelings out? Because that's what I feel. That's what I find generally. Like if you want to make a gender distinction, it's more like girls talk it out and guys don't. But I don't know if that's for certain. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts about this.
How about I just throw it to Bet first?
Yeah, throw the Bet first.
I think I do find myself talking my feelings out, especially to like Harun. I think it kind of helps me to like internalize what went on and to also seek comfort in like the person that I'm talking to. So like, cause I study in Australia and
Sorry, Bet, your
I-
mic's a bit close.
oh sorry.
Yeah,
So I
nice.
study overseas, right? And I don't have my family with me. So I can only like call like Harun or like my close friends in Singapore or speak to my Australian friends like physically. Yeah, so I think I do tend to talk my feelings out, especially to like those closer to me. So my friends like in Australia, like I'll text them and I'll be like, "Oh, can I talk to you about something?" And then yeah, I'll just pour my heart out to them. I don't know if it's a girl thing, but I do tend to do that.
How about Harun?
I think generally I think I approach it in two different ways. Like if I talk about it, there's a reason I want to talk about it. So like the talking about my emotions doesn't stem from a place of like it helps to talk about it. It's more of I really need someone else's opinion on something. Or like I'd like to see how someone else would approach my situation, or I'd like to see what this person has to say. Because usually, I mean, I'd say I'm fairly reserved when it comes to my emotions. I think even Bet will complain about that. Like sometimes I'm not the most open about, when I'm feeling upset. Because she can tell when I'm upset most of the time, but sometimes I don't share. And a lot of that has to do with me trying to internalize and deal with it myself first. And then if I can't do that, or I still feel like it's bugging me, and then I'll, try and ask for other people's opinions or just talk about it. I think there is an element of me feeling better just saying it, especially but I think it's like case by case thing, like depending on what it is. Because it's just nice to like be able to, or like to see someone react the same way I did to a certain piece of news, or that kind of thing, and just not feel so alone in it. But generally, I make it a conscious practice to try and keep things to myself first before going external. And I think that's like one difference that me and Bet have, that I think for better or worse, allows us to complement each other to some extent. Is that like generally I'm not the best texter or the best caller, and in that way, long distance is a bit difficult for me. But she's really good at that. Like she's really good at calling and texting and checking up and all that. And it pushes me a lot to meet her halfway, which I think is making me a bit of a better person as well. Because I think it's important for me to share that, maybe just on a relationship level, not anything else. Yeah.
Aman, I'm curious, what's
That's nice
your take
thought.
on this?
Like what's my take on how I deal with it or the girl boy thing?
The question you asked, the girl boy thing.
I mean, I kind of said my take, right? Is I do find that generally girls like to talk it out and guys don't like to talk it out. Like that's just based on anecdotally the friends that I have who are girls and the friends that I have who are guys.
Is that
Like I
reflective
think
of you also as a guy?
as a guy, yeah, it is. I'm pretty much the same as Harvin. So like um I like to internalize it first, and then only if I really need someone's advice or there's someone in particular who has experienced the same thing or gone through a similar situation, then I might bring it up with them. Um, I don't really have like um, some people have like a person that they go to or like a group of people that they go to whenever they're feeling upset. I don't really have that. For me, it's just generally like it's very situation specific, and I'll go to the person who can best advise me in that situation. But if it's just an emotional thing, then generally I do keep it to myself. But I find that for me, just dealing with negative emotions, I've I've in the last maybe like 4 years maybe, I've developed like a very weird sort of like coping mechanism where I just try and like make fun of the situation as much as possible to like make it as trivial to me. So like, I just kind of like joke about it like as much as I can just to like minimize the size of the problem. And then yeah, and then that kind of helps me get through it. But like not in a way where I ignore the problem. I just try and think about it rationally and just trivialize the problem just so that I don't spiral and don't let it get out of hand. You know what I mean?
Do you think that's a healthy thing to do?
Yeah, I was gonna ask the exact same question actually.
I mean, I think it works for me, lah. It works for me because I do know like generally if it's something that really is upsetting me and it's something that I should be taking seriously, then I do. Like for example, like when my grandparents died, right? Like that was one thing that I was like, okay, I was upset about it and I didn't like go through the usual routine of like joking about it. Of course, like maybe later on after a few months, after a year, then it's like whatever, you can make jokes and shit. But initially, yeah, I did take some time to like internalize it and stuff. But for things that's like, oh, you fucked up an exam, or like I don't know, had a fight with your friend or your girlfriend or something like that. That sort of thing is like you can joke about it a little bit and then just make light of the issue, and it doesn't feel such a big deal. And then I can like sit down and think about it rationally a bit more and be like, okay, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why did I screw this up? Why did I not screw it up? What can I do better in the future? That's kind of my process, generally. But whether or not it's healthy, I don't know. It works for me. Like that's the most I can say about it, I guess.
I mean, in my opinion, honestly, if you're not like ignoring the situation completely and you're just using like humor or whatever it is just to sort of like lessen the blow or soften the blow, and you're still like processing things, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely thinking about it, like in a sense that I still want to improve, lah. So like, I don't ignore it because you're not gonna get better at shit if you just toss it to one side. Sorry, but were you gonna say something? I interrupt you.
No, it's just something along those lines. Like I was gonna bring it back to the everything happens for a reason thing that I mentioned earlier. Like I think that way just to give myself some comfort. Like what Harun said, to like soften the blow. Like it just comes to my head just to like give me some comfort so that I don't think too much about it. Cause I know that if I think too much about it, I'll get like so sad and then I'll like wallow and then I don't want to like wallow in it. Yeah, so after that then I reflect and then I try to think of ways to like improve and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's all.
Are you guys generally wallowers? I feel like I'm not really like I get upset about something for maybe like 2 days, 3 days max, for like most problems. That's about it.
I'm all
Bhatia, are you a wallower?
I'm big fan. It do be known.
Bhatia's a big wallower, man.
Bro, like all I'm saying is I like
1.97 meter wall over, bro.
I like to put myself in positions where I'm not comfortable.
That's not right. That's not right.
But it fully
not
works.
fair.
It fully
It came out
works.
of nowhere.
Nah.
It felt a bit forced. It felt a bit
Nah.
forced to me.
No,
felt a bit
no,
forced
no,
to me.
no, 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 no.
No, why not? No, but yeah, I think
However-
I wallow quite a bit. I don't know if it's healthy. It definitely isn't healthy. But there's something about when you have negative emotions, there's something quite comforting about just letting yourself be sad about it. And I don't think it's something that's necessarily healthy in terms of like the spiraling effect of it or like overdoing it and being sad like all the time. Like as soon as I think other people can see it, and as soon as that sort of creeping in and that negativity is sort of spreading to other people, I think then you've probably taken it a bit too far. But I do sometimes like to, just wallow in it a bit.
Have a little bit of a...
curl up on my bed, a little bit.
You're a curl up kind of guy?
I don't have alcohol like Batia, so that's all I have,
That's true.
Little curl up, that's all I have.
I didn't need a shout out. I can't lie.
Oh, I don't think I've had a curl up in years.
He's on the
In a
road.
long time since
I
my
don't
last curl up.
physically curl up. I like emotionally curl up. Feel like
I thought you were physically curled up.
like in a little
Anyone?
corner.
Yeah,
No,
I thought you went
physically
fetal for a
curled up
little bit.
also.
Nah,
I thought you went fetal.
When you said curl up, that's what I thought as well.
Yeah.
The imagery is nice to imagine, big guy curling
Yeah.
up. That's weird.
It's a problem
Yeah,
with
but-
running this podcast for me, right? It's like everyone's so reasonable. I can't zone in on someone and be like, yeah,
And we know you
Oh.
love to do that as well.
yeah, because that's it's red meat, But
Okay, wait, I got something to ask y'all. Since
Okay.
since you have a girl also, so just now we talk about how it's a boy-girl problem, right? So I was thinking about it, and actually for me, and actually because I have a sister as well, and honestly, I don't think she's ever complained about anything that's happened, like in terms like disappointment-wise, like to me, to my elder brother, to my parents ever, and I think part of it is also up to do with like your upbringing, like how whether your parents allow you to talk to them about their problems when you're young and stuff. So, and I mean, I'm not sure if she talks to her friends about her problems. I don't assume so because she doesn't even talk to us, her brothers, which are I assume equally close. So, Bet, do you
But
think
are
like,
y'all
you have any
equally
friends?
close?
Old
I'll say we
assumption,
are
mate.
equally close. Equally close.
It's
Meaning
quite a big assumption, actually.
That's a tall order.
it is.
That's
It is a
tall
big
order.
assumption. It could be a big assumption, but
Is she as close to you as like your close friends?
like to me, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the reverse question.
Nah, not really.
Then you can't assume
Then why
the
would you
same
why
way.
would you think that? Why would you
That's
think
kind of-
anything like that? You're so
No, but
cocky
like-
as well.
No, but like bro, I hang out. Wait, listen to my rationale. I hang out with y'all every week. I go out this like a certain number of times every weekend. She's just at home, bro. Most of the time she's at home. She will sometimes call her friends. No, like sometimes she'll call like a certain group of friends. Like girls have that one group of friends they are usually more close to compared to like
Yeah.
us who have like a few more. So like I'm just saying like do some girls just like not talk to other girls about their feelings also? Do you think that, and could that be because of other stuff, like not just because of gender, like it could just be because like for
As
me
in-
maybe because my parents, for some other people maybe they
I
just
mean, you're
not
definitely right, lah. Like
Not
all of that,
comfortable.
all of that plays. That was a better one. That was a better one for me.
Yeah, it was.
All of that takes it plays a role, but I would just say like, on average, if you take the average of guy and the average of girl,
I mean, if you take the average and then you can't look for any of us to dispute that, bro.
Yeah.
Obviously,
No, I
it's
think,
gonna be-
I
it's
think
gonna be-
the main thing Bharav's driving it at is what are like some of the other factors that might play into people not
Mm.
wanting
I
to
think
talk
I
about
think
it.
one point of dispute there can be made. Like this also like obviously like very personal experience. Like a lot of like my close like female friends, I feel like for them, they are very vocal and upfront about more superficial problems. So like something small that happened, let's say they didn't do very well on a test or anything like that. They'll be very vocal about that. They'll complain about that. They'll vent about that. But like actual problems that bug them and things that are bothering them, they don't actually like share, and they aren't as forthcoming with them. And I'd say like for the sake of this comparison, like very like guy-like in that sense. So like I think it could also be like a thing of like they're more willing to share like kind of small failures, small disappointments, because it gives you something to like chat about, gives you something to share, creates this like feeling of closeness between you and your friends, versus like big problems they're as reluctant to share as like guy friends I have, etc.
Gotta get a girl's opinion.
Yeah, we gotta get a girl.
Big time.
Is that what you see as well? Like
I don't know what to say. I can't speak for every single girl.
No, just speak for your personal experience.
Yeah, I mean,
You're the only girl who's ever been on this podcast. You can definitely speak for every single girl.
At least in this context, for sure.
Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
definitely.
I don't know. For me, when I open up about something, it's just so that I can seek comfort in the person that I'm speaking to. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you feel like
Because
you
usually,
tend to...
okay, so when I open up, like, so what Harun said just now, like, you try to rationalize things by yourself first, right? Before you bring it up to someone else. So that's what I usually do as well. And then I share because I just want to feel like heard by someone, something like that. Yeah, like I won't like go around like telling people stories, like just because I'm a girl. But I don't know. I just I just want to feel something. Like I just want to feel like loved or like comforted.
Just want
Like
to feel
because
comfortable.
I'm feeling so sad already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the main like difference there, and like that's the main difference between guys and girls, is like the way we approach things, right? Like I think girls tend to be on average, more like if they go to someone for a problem, they want to just be heard, like that's the mainstay of treatment for girls, right? And for guys, it's more of like if I'm coming to you, it's because I want advice or like give me a solution to fix it. And then the disparity comes when, if a guy approaches a girl about a situation and wants a solution, but they just think I want to be heard, that kind of thing, or vice versa,
Yeah, I think vice versa is a more dangerous one.
Yeah, vice versa is a much more dangerous, because guys have a
That's a
tendency to
dangerous
like,
one.
mansplain and like give
Yeah.
unwarranted advice. And I think honestly, I have that. Like even like let's say if I talk to my dad or I talk to some other guys, sometimes I do get the feeling like sometimes I really just want to talk about something, but some guys will like very quickly try and like very very quickly analyze every little sentence I'm saying, like dispute everything I'm saying very quickly. Like I think in this group, the one that comes closest to that is Arman, who's like constantly thinking of like a solution or something for your problem, which is
That
exactly what I
was
do.
that was quite deep, yeah.
No, it's true. I'm not entirely a listener. I'm more of like a
Yeah, which is exactly why I go to him if I need a solution.
Need a solution.
Yeah, like because I know he's constantly thinking for my benefit. Like it's not like he like is arguing for the sake of arguing, but it's always like
there are times
he has a tendency to
it's
do that,
happened.
but not if it's a serious problem.
It's happened. It's a career move, lah.
Not as much as
the issue I'm having, I know he'll
It's a
likely come
fallback.
up with a pretty decent solution for me.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
why it's
that's
easy when guys talk to guys. But then the disparity comes when like most of the time if there's a girl talking to a guy talking to a girl.
I think it also comes from like the fact that in general, like when it's down to these kind of like more like emotionally driven conversations or like more like feelings driven conversations, I think guys tend to be more tone deaf as like as an overgeneralization. Like guys are a lot more tone deaf than girls. So like if a girl comes to a guy with a problem, he won't really pick up on what he's supposed to do. So then there's that whole like mansplaining thing and all that shit. And versus like girls are
crazy
like
thing
quick to pick up.
is I was talking to Tanisha, this is probably like a few months ago, and I asked her like when so I can't remember what it was, but something happened that upset her like a few days prior to that. And then I was just asking her like, okay, when this thing upset you, can you describe the precise feelings that you felt? And like there were about 75 different things that she was feeling at that moment. And like when I'm upset, there's maybe two things that I feel. It's like sad, a little bit of angry. That's sometimes it. That's most of the emotion. Like, like I don't know if this is a guy thing or a me thing. I have maybe 6 emotions in total.
Bro,
like you could
I
count
was
on both
actually-
hands.
Bro, I was about to say that, like, what are 75 emotions, bro? Like,
Yeah, no, she was
I
like
can't-
coming
I
up
couldn't
with
name you
like
10, bro.
no, she was like mixing colors, coming like turquoise, like
Jesus.
like
That's
all
insane.
kinds of emotions. Like we have prime color emotions. She has like she has the spectrum, like what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Jeez.
So I was quite amazed at that conversation, to be honest, just because I didn't realize Like there are emotions that she couldn't even describe. Like there was no word for it that she could come up with, that either of us could come up with. You know what I mean? There are
Honestly,
words for all the emotions I have.
honestly, I feel like maybe I'm somewhere in between that, to be honest. Because I have had certain things that I get upset about or have hurt me a lot. And I have had moments where I generally have like physical feelings that attach themselves to those emotions. Like things like, I don't know, like, I mean, like feelings of anxiety, I guess, or like, nausea, like difficulty breathing, that kind of thing, Like sometimes I do get physical, like manifestations of like the way I'm feeling. And I think those feelings feel a bit weird because usually a physical manifestation is because of something physical happening to me, So it's very weird when something like emotional can result in something like that. And I think those things are very difficult to describe. So I do see where she's coming from in that sense. But I think honestly, I think any human has the ability to feel everything and have many, many emotions that you don't have a name for. But it's just that I think generally, I mean, everyone knows this, that like for the longest time, guys are like supposed to be a bit more quiet about their emotions. And maybe it's a conditioning thing. Maybe it's just guys just don't like to talk about their emotions as much or see no point in talking about their emotions as much. But we've all grown up in more of like a sort of, we sort of keep to ourselves most of the time. But obviously that results in things we can't see, that there's a lot of people who suffer in silence. And like again, to bring it back to like where I am now, and like the statistics I'm seeing, like suicide rates among men is like 3:1 to women at this point in time. And I honestly do think that a lot of it can be attributed to the fact that guys have to be a lot more, to some extent, quiet about their emotions and sort of frowned upon to talk about. Yeah. Arman, what do you think about it?
And this raise hand thing is quite useful. So. Okay,
I'm,
anyways.
I'm not gonna lie, right? I think it can be seen on the thing because it's screen shuffles, but
Are you serious?
yeah.
It's fine.
Okay, let me
Yeah, it's fine.
But then you might as well just raise your hand, like.
Yeah, I should have just. But anyways.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, so what I was gonna say was so like, to summarize your point, your earlier point is that you think that guys generally have the full spectrum of emotions. It's just that we don't show it, and then therefore it manifests in other ways. Then suicide
Maybe I didn't flesh out that point enough. Actually, I meant to say, like, because girls have had much more experience talking about their problems and like are much more comfortable talking about their problems, they have a much longer time and much more experience in how do I describe this? In like developing emotions in a sense, or like acknowledging that there is this scale of emotions and acknowledging every time. Because I feel like you learn more about yourself when you talk to other people sometimes. And like there are situations where maybe you wouldn't understand what's going on. And like to us, it's just like, oh, I feel sad about something. But and maybe in your case it's different because you say you've only felt like these many emotions. You don't really have like
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Visceral reactions. But
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Because like I don't think for me it's like an issue of if I talked about it more, I would understand myself better. Like I feel like I understand myself pretty well. It's just I just generally have
I feel like it might come. Feels like it might come
things.
down to like emotional like analysis and reflection. Because I guess like the thing is like all of us here, like we probably feel like the same range of emotions. I think that's what Harun's saying as well. And like the thing is that if I try to psychoanalyze it or like break it down for myself, maybe I can split sadness into feelings of disappointment, feelings of envy, whatever. I don't know emotions. I'm coming up with shit here. But like point being that like I haven't tried to break down what sadness is or what that anger is. And the thing is, if someone's like more like mentally in tune with themselves or emotionally in tune with themselves, they actually bother to figure out what the micro emotions they're feeling are, because that's how they go about resolving these things. Because if you can pinpoint what makes you feel sad, like if there's like 5 different things that make you feel sad and it's like 5 different avenues or kinds of sadness, you can kind of like target things better. Versus I think for like us, or like me, I'm emotionally stunted, I guess. So like for me, like sadness is broad. And then like in that sense makes it a lot more difficult to target because like when sadness is broad, like the fuck can you do realistically? So I think that's what like it comes down to, like emotional kind of maturity and like also just knowing yourself better maybe.
So then
Well,
let me throw this
put that
question
so
to the
well,
floor.
Sam. I just have to say, you put
Yeah.
that so well. That's exactly
That's
how
really good.
I wanted to describe it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then let me throw this question to the floor, and this kind of goes back to our earlier discussion on how you deal with the negative emotion, right? Do you guys, when you guys are dealing with those negative emotions, do you solve for the emotion or do you solve for the situation? Meaning, do you think about it in terms of, okay, how do I get myself to feel better? Or is it, how do I solve this problem which is causing me to feel worse?
Bar, if you want to take that one first.
Yeah, Barry, why don't you go first?
I mean, it has to be the second one. I feel it just kills two birds with one stone, right? Like you are sort of dealing with the emotion and at the same time with the problem. I feel like, I don't know, I don't think there's ever been a situation where I'm doing something purely to relieve myself of any emotions specifically. Mainly because I feel like I don't dwell on any emotion, even like happiness. Like honestly, I don't really dwell on it too much. I usually just get on with my day. Unless it's something like really, really drastic. Then, yeah, lah.
Job's not finished.
Yeah.
I didn't
Got
think we'd
jobs,
make a
mate.
Kobe reference in like a in like an emotional conversation, but fair.
Yeah.
No, but Barf, I have a question about that. Like, so let's say like if so you're saying you fix the situation rather than the emotion, the negative emotion, right?
Yeah.
But in that sense, don't you think that sometimes like if it's something within you or like the negative emotion that you dwell on is like kind of like I guess a problem, for lack of a better word, within you. If you fix a situation, another situation that's similar could come up, and then you have the same problem again. Versus if you target the emotion and why you're feeling that and try and like break it down that way, you kind of like fix the problem long term. So it's like short term fix versus long term fix.
I would actually say it's the other way around here for me.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the emotion is more of like a just purely what I'm feeling at that point in time. It could be contributed by many other things also, not
Mm-hmm.
just one specific problem. So like if I look at it that way, like the way you mentioned, like, oh, why is it that I'm feeling the way that I feel because of this? I think
Yeah.
that wouldn't really work for me because like one thing could piss me off today that wouldn't piss me off on another day. So I wouldn't really be able to look at it in that way. Yeah, so I think solving for the problem is usually better. It's like if I talk about it in like medicine terms, it's like if you have like chest pain, I'm gonna solve your heart attack. I'm not just gonna give you like painkillers, something like that.
Fair.
Yeah.
But you could make an argument for solving for the emotion is better because there are multiple things that could lead to feeling the same emotion, right? And I think this is what Batia was kind of putting out there.
Yeah.
So like problem A, B, C, and D could lead to me feeling emotion X, right?
Mhm.
And if I know how to deal with emotion X, then no matter what problem set arises that causes me to feel emotion X, I can deal with that emotion. I might not be able to solve the problem, but at least I can solve the emotion first and then work on the problem later. As opposed to if I solve only for the problem, then if another problem arises that causes that same emotion X, I wouldn't be able to solve for the emotion.
I get that because he's basically saying like I guess that emotion itself might affect your ability to deal with the problem in the first place. So like let's say like to use your same analogy, bar of like if you have chest pain, I'm first gonna stop you from having chest pain and then I'm gonna deal with your heart attack. I mean, maybe not the best example, but when it comes to like let's say you've got a broken
Like you
leg.
stop the bleeding first, and
Yeah, you
after that
stop
you
the
solve.
bleeding, you stop the pain first, and then you do the surgery,
Yeah.
So like I get that as well. And another opinion that I might have is like there are times where I do feel certain emotions, but I can't pinpoint what exactly is causing me to feel that emotion. And I think it is a possibility, and I think there are people that go through that. And I think in those cases, because you don't have X to solve for, you have to deal with the emotion. And in that case, also, you'd probably be better off learning how to deal with emotion, I think. Yeah.
What about
Pat, what about you?
I think for me, I would think of solutions of how to solve the problem first. Like, so I try to rationalize it in my head first. And then once I find a solution, I think of ways of how to relax myself. Yeah, like go out for a walk or do some hobbies. Yeah, so I tackle the situation first, and then I try to help myself.
But do you ever
Yeah.
feel like that whatever emotion you're feeling might be sort of affecting your ability to come up with a solution to your problem?
Not really. I don't think so.
Mm.
Because like when I'm in that state of mind, my goal is just to find a solution. Just to yeah. Yeah. So I don't think my emotions really cloud my sense of like my ultimate goal. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, cool guys. I think that about wraps it up for this episode. We've been going on for about an hour.
Sick.
So yeah, that time flew. So yeah, thank you for your discussions. Bat, thanks for being on this episode with us.
My pleasure.
All right, cool. We'll catch you guys in the next one, I guess.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
That was a good episode.
That was great.
Yeah, it was a pretty good episode.
That was a fucking good
Bro,
episode.
Harun,